Your album, which was launched 3 weeks ago, is Swazi herself. The album is titled Soul of Me, the Full Circle series. Swazi, welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, 10 years ago, you're marking 10 years in the industry. What has that journey been like?
It's 10 years since my solo career, but about 15 as a musician, and it's been a roller coaster of fun and sometimes hardships, sometimes pain, sometimes joy, but it's been fulfilling. I'm very grateful. I've lived and I've enjoyed every single moment, and whatever that I've been through has actually been a fundamental building block to where I am today.
The musicality. In 2003, when Swazi Dlamini decided to launch a solo project.
Yes.
And the Swazi Dlamini now, who's working on 2 albums at the same time, you had to be stopped by a record label to say, we'll bring it out in February, this one's got to go here.
Yeah.
It's a full circle series. Talk to me about that growth, that musical growth.
It's been very interesting. I'm experimental in the sense that my voice is very versatile and I'm able to basically sing whatever I put my mind and my heart into. So I've had to actually be challenged in not wanting to actually overdo things at times, and sometimes I've actually gone and overdone things and actually learned that actually I could have tweaked a little bit there and toned down here, and also understanding the markets and actually realizing that I am a gospel child. And yet I love the jazz and it's my passion. And
you're good at them both.
Thank you. And actually learning to service both and not spite anybody. Because whoever bought my first album, which was jazz, and then when I came out with Gospel Meets Jazz as my 3rd album, they were like, okay, now what is she doing? You know, but I found that with this album, Soul of Me, whoever fell in love with me because of the first album is actually saying, this takes me back to 2003. And yet the gospel fans are complaining, and I'm like, okay, wait until February when I release the gospel truth. So it's been a learning curve, and it's been a challenge, and it's been very challenging for me as an artist to actually grow and become a true artist, not just a focus on the entertainment aspect. Yes, the music is to make people happy, but I had to remain true to myself in terms of my creativity and my craft.
And that is why it's so significant, Soul of Me. It is a reflection of where you've come, where you are, where you've been.
Yes, I actually had a lot of help with this album. I had a lot of brainstorming sessions where I said, you know what, it's 10 years. How can I do this differently? And a very dear friend of mine, Lupin Naisa, was there every day to actually say, just dig deep and you know, take people back to Yagelugaga, take people back to Shangaan, and also bring people to Psalm 23, which is in the Gospel Meets Jazz album. So I had to actually try and really package all of these elements and all of these things that people actually like about me, and actually put them into 2 separate packages, because I didn't want to impose anything on anyone this time around. I found that with Gospel Meets Jazz, people didn't know whether it's gospel or jazz. So I was like, okay, a series.
Let's split it.
Then Delani Mkiza and I said, okay, a series, and then you cater to your jazz market, and then you cater to your gospel market. And then at Universal, after a lot of meetings, we decided with Randall to actually say, no, actually separate them, Swazi. Cater to your jazz market now. It's September. It's a fun season. It's a festival season. It's a braai season. It's a chilled festive season. And then in February, when it's just time for Easter's, then go with the spiritual album and actually cater to that market.
Very quickly, why the decision to reflect back? Why that decision? I mean, after 10 years, you could have come out and go, well, this is the sound and blah blah. But you decided to kind of break it down and go back to the original elements of the music that made people fall in love with you in the beginning. Why that choice?
I think how I did it was, when the album first came out, they always say that you're always as good as your first album. When it came out and I wanted to actually introduce the other facets of who Swazi is as an artist, I actually did it too soon. And Dance With Me and Gospel Meets Jazz then became the albums that actually in the middle, and people are like, okay, we don't know, are we sure, are we happy? They were very fulfilling for me spiritually and creatively. But with this one, I was like, you know what, I think I was a bit selfish. I went too far. Let me just make sure that, you know, the person that actually ends up going to buy the music and supporting who I am actually says, oh, you know, make this album a bit reminiscent, and make this album a bit oh, I remember this. Oh, this is why, you know, and just take people back. It's 10 years. You want to do it with the people that first actually helped you to get to this 10 years.
Swazi, we're going to leave it there. Thank you very much for joining me this morning. Of course, that's Swazi Dlamini talking to us about a new album called Soul of Me. It's available in all good music stores. Go and check it out. Remember, the gospel album is coming out in February.